Hi everyone, so for today's video I really wanted to talk a little bit more about what are the type of books that I bring when I travel. Since I am going on a trip next week to Hong Kong, I thought I would do a video that talks a little bit more about the books that I bring with me when I travel. I don't travel as often as I wish I could, but when I do, these are sort of the things I think about when I think of what books I should bring with me in my carry-on. Before I get to the criteria of whittling down which books I'm going to be bringing, I usually ask myself two questions. The first question I ask myself is if I will have enough time to actually read, and where exactly will I be reading the book. Will I be reading it while waiting to board the plane, or are there specific downtimes during my trip where I can sit down either in a cafe or in my hotel room and just read? So when I've sort of figured out what's my itinerary for that trip, that's when I sort of have a better idea on what types of book or books I'll be bringing along with me. With that in mind, I also have like 5 things I think about when it comes to deciding which books I should bring from my TBR pile or from the books that I've already read in my bookshelf. The first is definitely how lightweight is the book. Is it easy to travel? Is it heavy? Is it going to take up a lot of space in my handbag or carry-on? Most of the time I determine this after I've sort of packed my luggage and I can sort of see how much space I have left in my carry-on. Most of the time I go for books that are a little bit slimmer, and the smaller they are, the better. And number 2, I like to bring books that I've already started. This makes it a whole lot easier to get into the story since I already have an idea of who the characters are and where the story or novel is headed to. I have a few of them in my TBR pile, so it's not that hard to pick out. And the third is a preference towards short story or essay collections. The thing about collections is they're a lot easier to read since they are in little like bite-sized pieces, if you can say that. You can get through a short story in about 30 minutes. You can get through a chapter in an essay in about 30 minutes as well, 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how long it is and how invested you are in that particular section, but it's just a lot easier to digest. And if you're waiting for your flight, or you have a little downtime at the airport or at the hotel, or in between bus rides to different places, it's an easy book to just whip out and really quickly consume a whole piece of story. And the fourth thing I think about is whether it's a book that I've always wanted to read. Usually in those instances I can get through sort of the meat of the story really quickly, and I don't have that sort of like, oh, okay, I have to trudge through the first few pages before I feel invested in the book enough to want to keep reading through it. And the thing about traveling with books is that if you bring something that you are already invested in, it's a lot easier to just sit down and focus and read and not be distracted by everything going on around you. So if I bring a book that I've always wanted to read, it's just going to be, there's this level of excitement in me, and I'm like, okay, I can't wait to get into this book right now. Screw the noises and the people at the airport or whatever, and I'm just going to sit down with my book and be lost in the whole thing. And the fifth thing I think about is whether I can just bring my Kindle. So some of the books that I own are actually in ebook format. I do still prefer a book, like a regular book they can actually hold, but sometimes I do love my Kindle because I can just bring a whole bunch of books and not have to commit to reading just one book throughout the whole trip. So whenever I can't really decide on what book to bring, I just sort of bring my Kindle. It has about, so far, I think I have about 50 books in here. And the great thing about having a Kindle is that you can sort of put them in folders. So I have my books, like I have short story collections in here, I have novels, I have poetry collections, I have essays. And if it's going to be a long trip, or if I see myself really just being at the airport for a long time, I can sort of decide, okay, what am I feeling right now? Do I want to read a short story collection? Do I want to start getting into a novel, or getting back into a novel that I haven't read again in a while? So yay for Kindle. So with those things in mind, I've actually already started thinking about what I'll be bringing with me to Hong Kong. And I'm kind of conflicted. Part of me wants to just bring my Kindle, put new books in here that I recently bought, or bring this book that I recently bought as well. I think I bought this in December. I didn't do a haul video for December just because I didn't really buy a lot of books in December, but I do many haul photo things on my Instagram So if you want to like just see the books that I buy periodically through a month, follow me on Instagram if you want to. Anyway, back to the point. I've picked out this book for Hong Kong. This is Lit by Mary Carr. It's a memoir. So Mary Carr is an essayist, and I've read a few pieces of hers, I think, when I was taking like a creative nonfiction class. Maybe, I don't know, but I remember reading something from her years ago. So this is a type of book I see myself like reading quickly before boarding, like once I'm at the boarding gate, or we're lining up to check in, or in the train, or in a bus, and it's pretty light. It looks bulky a little bit, but it's actually really light. And yeah, I'm really excited to get into this. I don't think I'll finish this whole thing during my whole Hong Kong trip, but if I do, I will film a little book chat review thing about it. So yeah, so that's it for today's video. What are the books that you bring with you when you travel? What do you think about when deciding on a book you're gonna bring? And what are some of your book recommendations that's great for traveling? Leave them in the comments below. Please subscribe. That'll be great. That'll make my day. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!